Dana, let's bring in Tom Cotton, Republican Senator out of Arkansas. Sir, good morning to you. I want to get your reaction to what China's doing around Taiwan, but I also want to get your reaction to this Peter Doocy at the White House yesterday.
Does he think that it was good that she went?
We cannot dictate, and we will not dictate where members of Congress go. Members of Congress, wait, let me finish.
When they go, he doesn't dictate it, they go. Now he can say if he thinks it was good or not.
I mean, that's not how it works.
That's the question about Pelosi's trip. What do you make of all this now, Senator?
Well, Bill, weakness invites aggression, and Joe Biden projected weakness last month when he dialed it up to DEFCON 1 about Nancy Pelosi's trip. I think the White House leaked this news in part to pressure Nancy Pelosi not to go. They should have acted like presidents of both parties have acted for 40 years, which is that members of Congress routinely travel to Taiwan. I've done it myself on multiple occasions. Every time we go, Beijing complains and rattles sabers about it. But then they continue to acknowledge, Beijing does that is, acknowledge that this is a long-standing custom and practice and part of our relationship with Taiwan. But Joe Biden, by dialing it up to DEFCON 1, played into Beijing's hands. Look, they are trying to move the goalpost here. They are trying to change our relationship with Taiwan. We should not allow them to do that.
Senator, do you think that there will be maybe more senators or members of the House who decide to go in the wake of Pelosi's visit?
I do, Dana. And again, it's very commonplace for members of Congress to travel to Taiwan. Taiwan is welcoming to members of Congress. They're welcoming to state officials, governors, and state legislative delegations as well. That's partly because for 40 years, it's been the typical practice that while members of the executive branch generally do not travel to Taiwan, members of Congress and state officials do travel to Taiwan. The Chinese communists know all this. They're simply trying to press an advantage because they think Joe Biden has been projecting weakness for the last 18 months. And unfortunately, they have reason to believe that.
Well, that's happening here in the U.S. We've been reporting on this real estate that's been bought up by the Chinese government, entities connected to the CCP. On camera here, I mean, here's from Arizona all the way to the state of Washington. You're proposing a bill that would prohibit this. Can you succeed?
Well, I hope so, Bill. We just introduced that legislation earlier this week. It may take some time to gain momentum, but the simple strategic facts are these. China cannot feed its own people. The United States not only can feed our own people, we can feed much of the world. We should never surrender that massive strategic advantage. We should not allow Chinese nationals to buy up American farmland or to invest in American food and agricultural companies. We should protect those critical assets for our own country. I think that's something that members of both parties can get together around. I think most Americans would agree.
I was surprised at how much they are actually buying. Call for number 3 here. The investors' holdings from 2010 was 13,000 acres, 2020, 352,000 acres. And that is a huge amount. Do you think you'll have bipartisan support on this?
I hope so, Dana. We're still working with Democrats and Republicans to try to explain the threat to them and explain what we need to do to stop it. Again, in China, you don't just get to leave the country or take your money out of the country without government permission, government oversight. It's not like America. You can't just go buy a farm in Canada. You can't get a timeshare in Mexico. The people that are coming out of China to buy farmland and food and agricultural companies are doing so because the Chinese communists want them to. This is a national security threat, and it surrenders the massive strategic advantage we have here in America, that we are the world's breadbasket, while China can't feed its own people without food imports.
Senator, just one more question on this. There are some suggesting that China could invade Taiwan within the next 18 months. Are you a believer in that possibility?
I believe that China could very well invade Taiwan. I believe they will invade Taiwan sometime in the future if the United States does not make it clear that we will not accept a Chinese invasion of Taiwan and forcible annexation into mainland China. The way we do that is to arm Taiwan now and to make it crystal clear that we will come to Taiwan's defense. That's not so we can win a war over Taiwan, it's so we can prevent a war over Taiwan.
Senator, thank you so much. Tom Cotton, a Republican from Arkansas, with us today. Thank you, our lead guest today.